All right, coach. So what's been going on with this transition with the job? Like I know you had some time where you got to get away out to Boone, which we when I was at CCB wrestled against App State, and that's beautiful country, man. So how was vacation for one?
Well, vacation was pretty awesome. We rarely get vacations, so we were lucky enough a year in advance. My wife had booked this spot in Boone, and even though those were once the enemies over there at App, it is a great place. I went fishing, caught some fish, filleted them, cooked them, hung out. It was a pretty cool experience. We had a lot of fun.
I think it's good too, especially just getting out in nature. I think it was like John Muir or somebody said something like that. But it's like man thinks best when he's outside and like out in nature. And but you kind of like, do you have time to kind of reflect on kind of this transition a little bit?
A little bit, but I also had to break the news to the team while I was out there on vacation. So that
Gosh.
made it jammed up. And you're always going to have a lot of phone calls after breaking news like that, and I made sure to make time for each and every one of them. I called and talked to pretty much all of them one on one. So um, yeah, I've been thinking a lot about it. Again, this opportunity has been on my plate for a while, and that's something I was really thinking long and hard at, and I really wanted to do something more for the sport than I could in a wrestling coach's role, and that's probably what interests me most about this. Is I felt like instead of helping 35 kids a year, I could try to help the entire sport as a whole. So I think it's a great move. I think there's a great team in place, a great plan, and so the more I think about it, the happier I am I made this choice, and the more of a difference I know I can make.
And I think whenever you kind of leave a position, it's always saying goodbye to like the guys and some of the alumni and just the people that are around the program. Is there anything that maybe sticks out to you the most, like in talking to some of these guys or people just around Campbell?
Yeah, I mean, they're acting like I'm dead, right? Like I'm dying. Like, oh man, it's such the word. Dude, I'm still alive. I'm still a big fan. Like I was talking with, Winton Dinkins. I go, look, I'm always gonna be a Winton Dinkins fan. I'm always gonna be a Chris Ernest fan, a Cooper Short, whatever. All those guys, every single one of those guys. I'm there for like same thing with the alumni. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm still gonna be helping you guys, right? Because you become really close friends with those guys. They've helped the program a lot. They've helped me as a person. Like I said, there's some of them I talk to almost every day. I consider them best friends, and so moving on is always tough. But I think luckily we have a really mature group. They get it. They understand. They're happy for me. Um, Same thing with the alumni. They're happy for me, but it still stinks, right? Anytime
Yeah.
there's change, it stinks, and like I said, I'm gonna miss them, but I'm always gonna be there for them. They can call me, I can call them, and I'm sure we're gonna have those calls.
Yeah, I mean, I think about when I found out Mike Mendoza was leaving CCB to go to Boise State, and it was kind of heartbreaking. But at the same time, I understood it. Like I understood it was a better fit for him and his family, and ended up not working out at
That
Boise
was
State,
crazy.
unfortunately.
I don't want to
But
say that. I don't know if people remember that guy. I feel so bad for that guy. So bad for how that went down. For people that don't know, he had a great year over there at
CSUB, yeah,
yeah, Cal State Bakersfield had a great year. I mean, a phenomenal team, put a phenomenal team on the mat, and he got an opportunity to go to Boise State. Not Boise, was it Boise State?
yeah.
And then literally first year before he even got started, they pulled the rug out from under him. I couldn't believe why would you bring in a new coach to pull the rug out from under him? So
Yeah, and I felt bad for Riley Orozco that followed him out there too, because he
yeah,
was kind of not sure if he was going to stay or go, and he ended up deciding to go. And the way they like told the team is the guidance counselor or whatever like came in and started passing out transfer forms
oh
to the
man.
guys on the team, and they're like in the office, and all Mendoza knows is like, hey, we have a meeting, like a random meeting in the afternoon, so it's like before practice, and all the guys start coming in. So like as soon as Mendoza found out, like literally the counselor's coming in, he hadn't even like a chance to talk to the team yet, which is crazy.
I think that's just in the playbook. I was talking with Jason Borelli in terms of how it went down with Stanford, and basically he got word right before a meeting. There's like, hey, schedule this team meeting, and they told him, hey, we're going to drop the program. We're going to let the guys know in 20 minutes. So just hold off on that. We'll do it all together. And he's like, no, I'm talking to the guys directly. Boom. Did a little rush meeting because they don't understand. I mean, it's not just a job for us coaches. Like we have a relationship with these kids. These are kids these are people we're gonna talk to the rest of our
Yeah.
lives, right? Like we care about them. They're gonna call us 15 years down the road when they have a problem. And so sometimes they treat it like it's like a corporate breakup. I call it a corporate breakup, right? When I had to break the news to my guys, it's kind of the same thing. So I made sure to call every single one and talk one-on-one first, right? Because you can't have those corporate breakups. It's just you don't do that to people you care about, right?
Yeah, and it's wrestling. It's like this is a family, like this is a community. Like that's the kind of program that you want, and as a wrestler, you want to be a part of. Like your coaches are going to look out for your best interest, and like you said, you're going to be talking to them for 10, 15 years down the line. You're going to be at their weddings. They're going to have kids, and you're going to see that too. And it's like that's pretty cool. I think for admin though, it's kind of brutal. It's like they don't necessarily see it like that. It's just all nickels and dimes. And I think if you try to humanize it, it's probably harder to make those decisions because you're now thinking about the impact that's going to have on people. But what is education? Like, I think in an ideal world, it's about serving others and helping people.
Yeah, and I think we get that, right? You get it, I get it, the athletes get it. And unfortunately, a lot of these administrators, they weren't coaches. They weren't athletes. They don't a lot of them just don't really get it. And I do think there's a playbook that they're being taught, and I just don't agree with the playbook from things I've seen with other programs. And again, we're right there in the trenches. We're close to it. We're in the know. I mean, there's more of an emotional connection that we have with the athletes than maybe administrators do.
So this last season when you guys were at Campbell, I kind of know a little bit. I know they cut like a bunch of scholarship money, right? That's essentially what happened, and people were kind of like, "Well, what's going on? Like, are we going to get the program cut, or what's going on?" I guess like from your side of it, like how much did you kind of see or know, or was that something that you were thinking about? Like, are they cutting the program, or what's happening with Campbell moving forward?
Yeah, I mean they're not cutting it.
Okay.
Just the amount of resources they're going to put towards it is not what it used to be. And there's various reasons for that. And I don't know. I can't weigh heavily on any of it, right? Whether that be opting in, whether that just be where the university's at the moment with enrollment. I think there's a lot of factors where maybe there was less money to distribute amongst the teams, and she had to be, in terms of what her plan was, where she needed to be competitive, or she just had to find a way to make it work that fit her vision. And unfortunately, it was not to the favor of the wrestling program. But in terms of existing, I don't think it's going anywhere. But I'd love the level of support, instead of a certain amount of support coming from the athletic administration, it's coming from the donors. And luckily, like I said, we're well connected with the donors. We have a lot of alumni and friends of the program who've stepped up big, and they're just covering the spread. It's coming from them. And that's something I tried to explain to the team. But yeah, those the cuts hurt. The cuts hurt,
Yeah.
and our goal is to be competitive. I mean, look, our real goal is to change lives. And but we're also competitors, right? And you want to make sure you have the resources to be at least competitive. If everybody else has 9 scholarships, I mean, I could be competitive with 7, right? But you want to be in the same world in terms of resources, and some of that was just getting a little bit more difficult.
And it's like, well, obviously, the more resources you have, it's like it just makes the job a little bit easier. And it's like the less resources you have, it's like you just kind of gotta be willing to step up and do more. And that makes it tough. And even at the high school level, it's like sometimes it's like we don't necessarily get all the support that we want. And when we ask for stuff, it's like, well, just wake up earlier. It's like just do more. And it's like, all right, like we're doing a lot, and it's like we're probably gonna do that anyways, no matter what you say. But I think for Campbell, like I don't think people. I obviously, if you live in the area, you kind of understand. But North Carolina is super pretty. Like it's a
Yeah.
pretty awesome spot. And I live in California, and that's saying something. I guess it's just a little bit different. You got mountains. You're still close to the beach. There's still cities there. It's a pretty cool spot, especially if you're coming maybe from a place where there's a lot of snow and you want to get out of that and get into maybe a nicer area.
Yeah, I love where I live. I love the people. You get the Southern hospitality. I love the weather. I'm from Florida. I went to school in Michigan. I was like, that was a mistake. Moved to California, and now I'm back in North Carolina. No, I loved everything about it. The university's great. the wrestling room is second to none. And yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of great things about Campbell. I think people being number one. There's just a lot of really great people in the program and in the community.
And you end up raising a bunch of money before you left, right? It was like over 100 grand.
Well, I had 100 grand in the first 4 days of the fiscal period. So,
Okay.
but
That's
there's
crazy. That's crazy.
yeah, and again, that made it easier to like, hey, I'm going to leave this in good hands. Now, there's already a lot more in there. I'm not going to say,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
there
That's
was
fair.
already a lot more in there that I had fundraised. But what was publicly documented was that 100K. But the new coach coming in is going to have the resources. He's going to have the alumni support to really get creative and be competitive. And there's a lot of really good kids, and they haven't hit the portal yet. So I'm hoping administration moves fast because guys are getting shaky. Just to be honest with you, I wanted for them to have a coach in mind before I told the team, so that coach would have an opportunity to retain him. But unfortunately, the decision was made to go ahead and just tell the team, and then they were going to start the process of trying to make a hire. And we've kept him there for a week, but I think guys are getting pretty antsy. So hopefully, I think they're pretty further, pretty far along. So hopefully they move quick, because I'd much rather leave the new coach, with a loaded gun than an empty gun. Just
Yeah.
I'm hoping, because we do have some hammers on the team, and I think I put enough money in there where they can get creative and win the conference.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys have been super competitive in the SoCon, and have always been pretty regularly in sending guys to the national tournament and competing for All American spots. Um, it's such a scary spot when your head coach leaves, because it's kind of like, well, what do I do? And I remember, when I was going through it, it's kind of like there wasn't like a transfer portal, like you could still transfer and stuff, but it just seems like today with the transfer portal being something that's so prevalent, I think a lot of people's minds. It's like, well, how do you kind of just sit and wait? And it's like, it's been maybe a couple weeks since you announced it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a couple weeks. It's like, yeah, you just, keep focus, like just focus on training, focus on getting better. Is that kind of something that you kind of were saying to the guys while they're kind of waiting for a new coach?
Yeah, I said just wait it out. So I think the rule is, like, after they make an announcement, you have like 4 weeks or something. And don't quote me on that, but they
Yeah.
have a time period. It's we're getting close to it. I think there's like a week and a half to 2 weeks left. But yeah, just wait and see what happens. Now there's never a good time to leave, but for these guys, it's a difficult decision. So it's super late. You don't know what's open anywhere else. You can't talk to anyone. If you enter the portal, if you're on money, you're afraid to lose your money,
Yeah.
right? If I enter the portal, they're going to take it. Do I get it back? Those are questions I don't know, right? That they have to work through with compliance. But I think there's a lot of fear, right? And I don't want to, if I'm on a full ride, or I'm on X amount of dollars, I don't want to enter the portal and not have a home or not have a way. So some of these kids are in a difficult spot. And at the end of the day, I think they just need to wait and see who the new coach is, and see if it's something that they can stand behind. And I just, like I said, I think the administration is trying to move quick. Hopefully they have it this week, just because I know these kids are going to act on emotion. They're kids, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, it's summertime too. It's kind of like, everybody kind of has maybe their own training situation during the summer, but it's like, it's kind of idle. Like there's not necessarily a big tournament that's coming up, and it's kind of like, well, how do I kind of stay focused?
Yeah.
When you think about, you probably can't say any names and you might know some candidates, but if you had to maybe like think of like, okay, this is the kind of coach that I think would do really well at Campbell. Like, could you maybe describe what that person would kind of look like?
Yeah, I think first, I think fundraising is going to be big for any mid-major right now. So whoever it is has to be a fundraiser. I think they have to be a grinder. They're going to have to work, right? Just to make the most out of the resources that they have or don't have. I think that the department's going to look in-house and out of house. I think that's what I can give you. So I think they're going to look at what they already have here, and that have a connection with what we've been doing. I think they're going to look outside of that too. I think they're really going to try to get it right. You don't want a lot of movement with coaches, so
Yeah.
Whoever they select, it's somebody that they want to be here for 5 years, not somebody that comes for a year or two, says, okay, that was a lot more work than I thought. I had to fundraise more than I thought. I think they want to be upfront with sort of what the position is, and make sure they get a long-term commitment. And they've leaned on me with the candidates that they're looking at. I do think they have some great candidates. Some I was like, wow, he's interested. That's phenomenal, right? I know they've leaned on some of the alumni that they trust and that have really helped the program, and so they're doing their due diligence, right? So yeah, man, like I said, I just hope they move quick. I just like I said, the fact nobody's on that portal yet is great, and I'd love to keep it that way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I like what you said. It's like you want to find somebody that's going to be here for the long term. And
Mhm.
I think it's a great spot to raise a family. Like I know Colat was there for a long time, and you've been there for a long time. What about, I guess, Campbell kind of makes this like a good spot to raise a family?
Like I said, you have the Southern hospitality. The weather's great. The community's great. You have Raleigh. I live midway between Raleigh and Bowie's Creek. So you have
Yeah.
the college lifestyle of Bowie's Creek. You can go to the games, the baseball games, the football games, whatever, the sports games. But you also have the city right there. I'm 15 minutes from the city, from Raleigh, right? 15, 20 minutes. So you have that, you have Fuquay, you have the big towns, the small towns. You kind of get it all meshed into one. And like I said, just the people, the community's so nice. I mean, just friendly,
Yeah.
and like, so I love it. Yeah, I really do. And housing's cheap. You can buy a nice big house for little money because it's kind of, but still have that the big town feel.
I wonder if like the Californians that are listening to this are like, all right, here's like another state we can invade. Like,
Yeah, and they are those people from California
dang
coming
it.
down, to Raleigh, and Raleigh's sort of working its way down to the creek, right? So it's slowly expanding, and there's some major companies that moved into Raleigh. That I think a lot of California people are drawn to. And I was in one of the most beautiful spots in California. I was in Cal Poly, so I got to a mix of things to compare to, and I love it here.
Yeah. Well, so you obviously you went to high school in Florida, which Florida is like beachy, but it's kind of a little more conservative. And then you went to Michigan where it's cold, and
Yeah.
I think Michigan's kind of diverse. And then you go to Cal Poly, and it's kind of it's beachy, but it's kind of different than Florida, right? Can you talk about that for a sec? Like how
Oh,
is like if you're comparing them?
if I could retire, I would retire at Cal Poly. That,
Really?
oh man, it was amazing. Just like the food's phenomenal. A lot of they're really health conscious, so a lot of really good fresh made food. You're midway between LA and San Francisco. So if you're a music goer, you have these big name A-listers that have a huge venue down in Los Angeles. They stop at Cal Poly midway through. They have these small venues, then they finish in San Francisco. The beaches, if you want to surf, that's cool. We just went to the beach. I'm not a surfer, but the beaches were cool. We went on a lot of hikes, so we were outdoors. Just a lot healthier lifestyle. There's you can do a new hike every day for the rest of your life there, and still have something you haven't seen before. And so we hiked every day. And we moved to North Carolina, and it's like there's only a couple spots to hike, and where we're at, it's really flat. So um, I loved it. Like I said, it's the best place in the world I've ever been was San Luis Obispo. I loved it. It was just in terms of everything except for being away from my family. I loved about SLO.
I always think it was hard. Like, I think you're going to get some really good recruits just because there's all this cool stuff that you can do on campus, and the vibe there, to use kind of that term, is I think a pretty cool spot. I always felt like though, like we'd see guys that would go there and maybe aren't like able to kind of balance all this stuff because it's
Mm-hmm.
like beautiful spot means beautiful
Yeah,
women are going to be there. So it's like that distraction part. I mean, how do you kind of keep the guys focused in that kind of environment? That's got to be tough.
you're gonna have to ask the current Cal Poly head coach. He's doing a good job.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was hard. I had to keep my phone on at night. I've never had to do that
Yeah.
at here at Campbell. I've never had to leave my phone on at night. And we always say, and again, this is we hit it on the head when we talk to our recruits. It's like you're the average of the people you surround yourself with. And here, people came here for the right reasons. They came here for an education, and they came here because they want to win a national title. They didn't come here to paint their face and pass out at the tailgate. And the same can't be said about every student at Cal Poly. And they probably do a great job with wrestling, and that's definitely a place you can go to for a great education and to be a part of a great wrestling program that's going to develop you. But there's so much to do. A lot of kids went there because they want to go to the beaches, because they want to party. They want school, but they also want to, go to the farmer's market every Friday and get drunk or whatever, right? It's just, you're going to be surrounded by a different average. And, John Cerritos has done a phenomenal job of getting, of creating his own little average within his community, because they have a great wrestling program. But again, that was a challenge for us when I was there, was, keeping guys living the right lifestyle year round. It's tough because there is a lot of distraction you can get into if you're not careful.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's just trying to kind of ingrain that into the culture of the team, especially if you're kind of coming in and, that's kind of been the culture, is trying to change the culture. But I think something that's cool that Cerritos kind of does, and I've kind of able to not talk to him directly, but one of our wrestlers, Trent Tracy, he wrestled there at
Yeah.
Cal Poly, but he was talking about how, he very much has a business mind. And I think kind of what you were talking about earlier, like being a fundraiser in somebody who's been major schools, I think that's super important. One thing that I'm super impressed with you is like you kind of have like an outside the box kind of approach to wrestling and building events. And I think that's like something that's so much needed, where it's like, yeah, you still want to be process focused and, making sure training and, you're focused on winning a national title and creating All Americans and building winning culture. But like, it's also about the experience too, right? Like you want to make sure kids are having fun, enjoying it. And I think sometimes turning, just a dual meet into a bigger events, I think pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's got to be fun. It's a sport, and like I said, there's, we put out a post not too long ago. It was like 1% of people after the age of 40 is making money with wrestling, right? So it's like, let's have some fun with it. Let's put these in, kids in a position to make lots of money one day, and go after it, right? But another part of it's like, our sport needs it. We're hurting. We're
Yeah.
hurting right now as a sport, and we're almost stepping on our own feet. We're in our own way. Everybody wants to be cookie cutter. Everybody wants the same appeal and the same face, and I think we got to disrupt that. I think you got to be different. You got to say yes to more out of the box things. You got to look to do out of the box things, because if not, how are we ever going to grow doing the same thing and if we're all looking the same? And so, we were always on a mission to be different. Like, how can we stand out? What will we do that nobody else will try? And we try to make our mark that way, whether it be with UFC. We wrestled on a military base. We're the first ones to kind of do multiple events on there. And now UFC has a contract to continue doing wrestling. And we're hitting a completely different crowd there. And we wrestled in Wyoming at in a barn, right, against
Yeah.
the Cowboys. So we wrestled Army on a military base, Wyoming, the Cowboys in a barn. Like, why aren't we doing cooler events like that? And I think it's just because coaches get so locked in on just trying to develop wrestling skills that they forget the important thing. It's like, if wrestling's not going to grow, wrestling's going to die, and we need to do things to help it grow.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We've done something the past few years where we have a duel before Christmas, and it's like we have finals week for high school, and then right after our last final, we try to keep all the kids on campus. And I maybe cheat a little bit because I'm in the classroom. So some teachers might say this is unethical, but I offer extra credit if they go to the dual meet. So I have like between like 40 and 50 students that show up that are just looking to get extra credit. But my thing is, it's like I even if they don't end up wrestling, I want them thinking back to the crazy history teacher they had that was all into wrestling, and maybe that they have kids that they want to get into the sport because of that or whatever, just so they can see it. When you think about like some of the stuff you've done, my thing is I'm always trying to think like I don't ever want the event to take the place of me coaching and getting our guys ready to go. I don't want it necessarily to be a distraction, but at the same time, it's like I know for a fact the military stuff, there's a lot of stuff you have to do, like a lot of moving parts and a lot of permissions you have to do because it can be such a big bureaucracy. How do you kind of balance getting your guys ready to compete while also like, all right, we have this event and you're probably putting out little fires and trying to keep everything and making sure that it's going the way it's supposed to go to put on a good event for people.
Well, one, just have a great staff, right? I would say, you know, my assistants were better wrestling minds than I was, right? So I didn't really run the room very much. I was more on the business side of things, the fundraising side of things, and I was there. That was fun to do, but you know, you got to kind of fill the roles where that you're better at, and put you know, guys around you that are better in areas you weren't as good in, and you know, that's what I did. I just made sure I hired guys that can run the room, that can keep the guys focused, that would do this. And again, I would just find time outside of you know, normal hours. I would just put the extra work in. You know, a lot of these meetings were happening at 8, 9 at night. Um, so you just have to carve out some of that time to get it done, to be a little bit different. Yeah, military was crazy. We had like it got canceled like a week before, and we had to get a 3-star general to sign off on it. It was madness.
They can't wait. So
Yeah.
you're promoting it. It's probably gonna be streamed live on like Flow Wrestling or something like that,
Yeah.
right? Or Fight Pass or whatever. They cancel it? Like, what do they have? Like, there's a conflicting event going on the same day,
Something
or
happened.
what?
It got canceled, and like it was they said that it was a security risk or something along those lines. And then somehow the athletic director at UNC had a tie to a 3-star general. We reached out to the 3-star general. He wrote I mean, we just had to do. There was a bunch of things like that happened the first time around. It rained, literally had a hurricane.
Nice.
We had hurricane winds in rain. It rained during the duel, and the referees were amazing. They let this go on. It rained, and I think I've talked to like Jason Bryant, and it's
Yeah.
the longest recorded wrestling match because they had a rain delay break mid
That
match.
that's like a baseball game. Like that never
Unreal.
happens.
Oh, we had all the military. I felt terrible because it was like it might have been like on one of their holidays, Veterans Day or something. I don't know. And we had all these military people on in uniform, like on their hands and knees, waving up the mats. The coaches were out there. The Michigan coaches were on their knees. You had uh, all those. It was crazy, but it almost added to the excitement of it, and the
Yeah.
people talking about it. There was these great photos of their coaches, you know, talking to their athletes, and there's the rain, and I'll send those to you, but it was pretty
Yeah.
cool, man. It was.
That's awesome. Well, I think too, like this is maybe a little bit goofy, but it's kind of like different levels of fun. And this is Steve Ernella, who's like a famous hunter and stuff like that. He has like this show called Meat Eater, but he talks about like how there's different grades. There's the lower quality of fun, which is like being on a roller coaster. Then there's the higher grade of fun, which you're doing something uncomfortable or like doing something hard, and it's really like not fun while you're doing it, like wiping up the mats, like because there's a hurricane going on.
Yeah,
But years later, you think back like, man, remember when we had to stop wrestling because there was a hurricane? Like that was so much fun.
I will never forget these memories, man. Like neither were the guys, and I'll tell you another one. This is as a coach. I'm like, what are you doing? Like I was so mad. We wrestled Army on a military base, and we had a wrestler named Chris Ernest, and when he just one of those guys that he's not the same person when he's competing than he is as outside of the room. And he comes back, he's losing. He comes back and beats this guy, and he gives the Army the thumbs down. The Army coaches in the bench, and we're on a military base. All these dudes are West Point grads, and I'm like, I was gonna kill him. And then, but looking back on it, I will remember that for the rest. Him giving the thumbs down to all these guys for the rest of my life, and that's what it's about, you know. Like like it's supposed to be fun. You're gonna learn, but it's supposed to be fun. And I had a coach who he actually passed away this past year, and that's just something he'd always tell me. And anytime things got hard, I would you know, talk to him, and he just kept telling me, just make it fun, make it fun. That was always his answer, right? Like, hey, I have this going on, or this is the problem with this kid. He goes, just make wrestling fun, just make it fun. And it always has sort of worked out for me when I've tried to make it fun.
I think some of those kids that maybe have, it sounds like this guy, it's Chris Ernest, right?
Yeah,
He's a different. You say he's a different person off the mat. I mean, you kind of see a lot of kids, maybe a little bit less in college, but more in high school, where it's like they are kind of the same person on the mat as they are off the mat a little bit more. So it's just trying to keep it, like you said, keep it fun, keep them engaged. And I think, with some guys, it's like, wrestling maybe isn't traditionally that kind of sport where you are doing a little bit of showboating or flexing or, doing a thumbs down against like the other team.
yeah,
I don't mind that to an extent, as
yeah.
long as it doesn't cross the line, and there is a line for sure. But I don't know. I
You
think if
do
the
cross
kids
the
like
line.
it,
Oh, I'll tell you one
Yeah.
more. This one you got to hear. So
Okay.
UFC does things differently. And so we had a partnership with UFC. We were always trying to one up what we did before. And we were going to wrestle App State. And that is our biggest rival, right? That's like on every alumni's calendar. It's got a big red circle around it. And obviously our heavyweight Tay Gadiali, he's a big name. And so they were trying to promote it. And so they talked him into kind of talking trash, right? Like
Nice.
it was manufactured trash talk. He didn't really care, but he's like, oh, I think this guy's scared of me. Just to kind of, and they put it out, right? Like UFC put it out. Tay said, this guy's scared of him. And again, it was manufactured. They're like, hey, just say these things. It'll help us promote it. And really, yeah, no problem. And App State got mad. If you know John Mark Bentley, he is old school. He's put your nose down and work. Don't say
Yeah.
anything. Like, I have a ton of respect for that guy. I get it. I'm opposite. You know, he's very he's very respectful and does things the right way. The way you see wrestling is how he does it, right? And so he was pissed. Like he was calling UFC mad, whatever, wanted to take it down. Well, we wrestle that duel and it comes down to heavyweight. The packed arena, and we have everybody there, packed arena. And Tay comes out and we had these UFC belts, these big metal belts. And he had a wrestler walk out with it in front of him. We had out of the you know, he's hyping up the crowd like this. He runs into the crowd, slaps somebody's hands, and goes on the mat. And I was like, I just couldn't believe he did that, you know. But like I said, I'll remember that for the rest of my life. Right? It was a cool moment, and who does that?
I
Right?
don't know.
But I think it's fun, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like again, there's a line. I think, you know, like I think of the Tirapelli brothers when they put on the duel. It's like one's at Buchanan and one's at Clovis, and they're friends and like they're brothers. And a lot of the guys on the team like grew up wrestling with each other against each other and whatever. But they talk in building up for this big event because it's such a big event, you know, in the Central Valley in California. It's you know it's televised and you know it's a bunch of good wrestling. But they talk to each other ahead of time, like, all right, they talk to their teams like, okay, like we're gonna post some stuff on Twitter, we're gonna jar a little bit. But like everybody behind the scenes understand that it's part of like building up the event. But sometimes like they get off the rails a little bit, you know. And of course, like they're trying to keep some of the stuff kind of hidden about what they're gonna do with their lineups, but the kids kind of start talking to each other like, oh yeah, we're gonna bump so and so up a weight or whatever. I almost feel like it's kind of like with UFC a little bit where it's kind of like this unspoken thing, or maybe they do talk about it just because it happens a lot, but they are trying to promote it. Like it is a part of the
Yeah.
sport. And with wrestling, it's kind of, you don't do that. Like you know, like it's
Yeah,
like
they were
you
racking
work
it. They
harder.
didn't understand why App State was mad at him. You know, he comes so mad. I go, you don't get it. Like our sports, especially with the guys that have been around a long time and have done a good job. I mean, that's just not how they do things. And I'm a little bit opposite. Like you do not. I am the worst winner. You know, I would say that our conference got a lot better because those guys hate losing to me, right? Like they just can't stand it. And I just think make it fun. Like it's a game, right? Like they're
Yeah.
wrestling. You know, it's not the end of the
Yeah.
world. Life's gonna go on. And yeah, I think we gotta get out of our own way and start promoting it in the same ways that these larger sports are promoting it and do some things differently. Otherwise, we're just the same old thing, the same old thing.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of cool to mix it up. And I'm kind of a traditionalist when it comes to some of the rules. And we had Tom Houck on last week with Claw,
Yep.
and I was kind of not a fan of some of the ideas, but he kind of presented in a way that I thought was interesting. I'm like, okay, like I'm
Yeah.
kind of excited. But he was telling me a story how you kind of finagled your way to be a GM. How
That's right.
that how that how that
Me in there.
happened? How that happened?
Well, I just wanted to help them promote it, really, is what it is. And you know, obviously I like the actor that's there and that was doing it. And I was like, I'd love to jump in there and help. I've always tried to be on the forefront of new things especially new things that people are afraid to do. That's sort of what I'm attracted to. And Claw's one of those things. We did some events with Claw, and I maybe had some of the same reservations that I think other people have had because it's just so different. Like the pylon, I
Yeah.
could never get. But when I saw like Bryce Andonian and Jordan Oliver compete, and how like, I mean, Oliver won because he's smart. he's just, his mat tactics and his awareness is unbelievable. Bryce might have had some of the bigger moves, and maybe, I mean, he had some really great wrestling, but like, dude, there's just a lot more strategy in Claw. And I'm talking about like the people were yelling because you forget the pylon's there, and so the whole
Yeah.
place is a pylon, and the athletes, because you forget you're wrestling, you have a guy on your back, you're doing this, trying to get, and you forget where you're at on the mat, and there's a pylon right there, and if you knock it down, you get a point. And so there's all these little aspects, like little, almost like side quests or side games that you can play to earn points in that, and there's just so many different ways to be tactical. It makes it fun. It kind of, like I said, it gets them going. So I just like it, and to be honest, like, there's a couple different ones right now, and I love that they have them, but doesn't Claw seem like the good guys? You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, they
they
have
seem like the good guys. Like, they have like the old uncle, like uncle that just likes wrestling kind of vibe to him, you know?
Yeah, for sure, and it seems like it's, kinda clean, like, very clean cut, and, I think, like, other professional leagues that they've done, like, I remember, it was Agon, I think, where it was, like,
Yeah,
maybe Abyss and Bono wrestled, or somebody like that. It was like they had big names, and it was cool, but it seemed like it was trying to be like, UFC, which I think is fine, but I think with Claw, it seems like it's trying to be kind of more like, yeah, not like, obviously it's a game, but not like Banana Ball, where it's just like some of
yeah,
it's just ridiculous, but something that kind of takes some of the better elements of all these different, programs that exist already, or, like sports that are doing it right, like the having the concept of a draft, where you have to
yeah,
kind of be strategic in your draft. I'm trying to think. I know Caden Henschel has the first pick with his team. I'm trying to think of what are the benefits of trading from the top spot, because if you're doing snake draft, like, and if there's somebody really good on the board, I'm probably gonna keep that number one pick. Like, I don't
yeah.
think there's a lot of benefits to
I
necessarily
think there's
trading.
some weights that like seem like guarantees. Maybe they're not, but they're high probabilities, and so there's some weights I feel like they're the number one stands ahead of the number two by a long shot, but we'll see. So I think the first round picks will be important. So I think, I think I'd like to pick first. If he wants to trade his pick, we'll trade picks. you
Yeah.
know?
Well, there's not too much you can do other than like, hey, we'll trade spots. Like, can you
Yeah.
promise like, hey, if we get this pick in the draft next year, we'll give you like our first rounder. I don't know. Like, you
I don't
can't
think it's there
necessarily
yet. It
maneuver
hasn't
it like that.
evolved to that yet. I think they just want to do some have GMs pick, and we're not coaches. You got to understand, we're GM. We're just picking the team, and so yeah. I mean, we're just trying to put together the team, pretty much. I mean, I think those guys just show up and wrestle, and they put the uniform on, and they have the camaraderie for a day, and then they all go about their ways. Uh, so yeah, it's different. It's different. And I like that they have the mascots. I think it's good for kids. I like that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it that what they're doing is trying to get fan engagement. I think they have one GM's like a team of 12 people, like former D1. So they're just trying to include people. Like they're trying to kind of like almost include participation. Um, which I think is cool. You want people to get involved, and they're certainly getting involved in different ways with Claw. Like it's, and I want to be careful because I don't want to talk bad about any of the other ones that
It's just
are going.
different. It's a
They're
different,
different,
maybe
but
a different focus.
it's like it's like I love that Hulk Hogan's involved.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. That I love it. But it's like I've already seen good freestylers wrestle freestyle. You know what I mean? It's like nobody's showing up for the world team trials that should be to the same level. So to me, it's like not any different. Same thing with a folk style match. Um, and so I guess that I think when it comes down to it, if people are there for Claw, I think it's just going to be more entertaining because it's different. It's different. Think of how many big wrestling events there are where you see good wrestling and big name guys go. It's like same
Yeah.
old. And so I guess I'm interested because it's so different. And again, that's just my opinion, but I'm gonna watch all three. What's the other one? It's not the one with Hulk Hogan, but there's
I
one
only know the two, I think. I just know Claw, and I know, is it Real Amateur Wrestling? I think is the name of the other one.
that might be it. Yeah, that might be it.
Because that's the one I think, like Hulk Hogan, I think like Willie Sailor
Not
was
not not
involved
that
with.
one. There's a third one. And it's in Pennsylvania because I know my former coworker Mike Evans did it, and they get some big names too. And it's just folk style. It's like a little bit different, but it's pretty much folk. It's folk style. And like Mike Evans drank a beer afterwards. It was funny, right? So it's like a little bit of the diehard.
Did you drink it out of a shoe? you
Yeah,
seen that with like
no,
UFC?
no, he did not do that. I think that was there was a who was it? Stalemates. I think they had like a
Yeah.
stalemates league. I think this PA one reminds me a little bit of stalemates. Freestyle to me just comes off like freestyle. Now I could be wrong because I'm not an insider. Maybe they have some cool things when they're there, but to me it's just like I don't know, man. I've seen freestyle before, you know. And so that I think that's probably why I gravitated towards claws because it's different. I think different is good. I just always have.
Well, I think what's different too is like it's focused on trying to bring new eyes to the sport. Like it's a little more
Mm.
fan focused and not like wrestling fans. Like it's kind of crazy to me when I talk to my wife who didn't like really grow up with wrestling, where I talk about the national tournament and it's like my brain gets overloaded because
Yeah.
there's all these matches and all these different rounds and I know these guys and I know their coaches and I know the way that they wrestle. I know that and like my brain just goes nuts. But like when I talk to her about it, she's like, okay, like it's not a big deal, you know, because I understand the nuances because I've wrestled. But when you look at like claw, it's like, well, this is kind of this new exciting thing where it's like somebody knocks over a pylon or Jordan Oliver's reaching for it and like Bryce Andonian like grabs his arm and like pulls him back. It's
Yeah.
like you can kind of understand things maybe a little bit easier. And it's just trying to make the rules exciting to where it's like appealing to somebody that doesn't know wrestling. It's like, oh, I kind of understand what's going on, you know, without necessarily understanding all these other nuances.
Yeah, I think there's part of that. And I think the pressure's off the athletes. It's like it's a game. It's a game that seems so different that the pressure is completely off. Right. And so I just think they're going to be more willing to open up and have fun and do cool things. Because you wrestle freestyle, there's like a level of pressure, like freestyle. You're supposed to
Yeah.
win. And I think it puts a lot of pressure and a lot of times, not always, but pressure leads to people kind of putting themselves in a little bit of a box. Not saying that they will, but I mean, it's just you see tighter
No, I
matches.
think you're right.
But I
Yeah.
think when they don't care, you're just going to see a lot more points get scored. I think with claw because people are going to open up more. I think it's going to create more excitement. It's like if me and you wrestled and you lost because I knocked down a pylon, you know what I mean? Like you're gonna like who cares, right? But you're going to try really hard. But it's like I just think it takes the pressure off, you know. And I want to see athletes go put it on the line with no pressure.
Well, look at, I mean, some of these other professional leagues where it's like, you know, football and stuff. It's like, yeah, they want to win and they're competitive guys.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, they're getting paid. Like they're getting paid regardless. And yeah, there's bonuses and, you know, there's, you know, like incentives and things like that if they throw for over something 1,000 yards or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, I still got paid. Like I'm going to go home and, you know, it does take a little bit of the pressure off versus like, all right, I'm trying to make a world team. If I
Mm-hmm.
lose this match, like it's the end of the world. Or, you know, if I win this match, so I'm like I'm crying because like I just realized my dream since I've been, you know, 5 or 6 years old. It's like, no, it's like it's a professional league. Like this is, you know, like you already got the bag. It's just go out there and have fun and compete. And I think when guys do have that mentality in other settings, they usually perform a lot better.
Yeah, and it's just funner to watch, right? I just want the kitchen sink thrown.
Yeah.
Points on the board. I always got frustrated because I'm like, why does basketball have a bigger fan base? I mean, somebody's always scoring. Somebody,
Yeah.
somebody's always, whether it's a block, there's an easy way to kind of be like, got it, got one, right? And so the more ways you have to score, I think the better for sports. I think it's entertaining, man, when people are putting points on the board.
So when you like, you don't have to give anything away. You and Billy Baldwin's strategy for the draft, but are you looking at people like, all right, I know this guy's going to score a lot of points, or are you looking at like, all right, you know, on paper this guy's maybe better accolades, or like, you know, how much? I guess what is your, I guess, general strategy in terms of drafting guys?
I can't give anything away. Billy
Okay, all right, fine.
do that, but no, we got a good strategy. We know what we
Okay,
want to do, and Billy's trying to help grow the sport, and yeah, man, he's pretty tactical. So I'll follow his lead, and I'm there to help him.
awesome. Yeah, I think it's kind of cool that you get to work with Billy Bob. Have you had any interaction with him before?
No, just over phone call, pretty much, and he's all over the place.
Yeah.
I feel like anytime you talk to him, he's getting off of a flight from somewhere. So, yeah, man, just over the phone call, just messing with him. He was heading to yoga the last time I was talking to him. I was kind of teasing him a little bit about that. So, um, No, man, I'm excited to work with him. And I had to, before I talked to him the first time, I had to study. I had to watch some of his movies. There's just to kind of brush up on. So it's cool. It's cool.
I think it's super cool, like with this sport, like you get opportunities to network and get to kind of interact with different people. I had never actually heard of Wrestlers in Business before, but it
Yeah.
was funny is I made an account this morning and I was looking at people in Bakersfield and I was like, I knew like 3 of the 5, people that were in town. I was like,
Yeah.
what? Like, oh, the so and so's in this? Like, they already made an account. Maybe talk about this job a little bit. And this is the first day, right? This is the first day you're technically on the
Day
job.
one, day
Day
one. So
one.
I've helped a little bit with the media, just leading into it. I think the big thing is just getting the messaging out there and sort of the strategic vision out there. I don't think people realize it or understand what we're doing. Um, we're a branch of the NWCA, so everybody knows what the NWCA is. They lead the education sector of high school and college. They're trying to grow the sport on all levels. They lobby for wrestling, so they're trying to help with the rules and keeping wrestling safe on all levels and sort of the long term strategic vision. Now, Wrestlers in Business Network is kind of a branch of that, and it's a branch with multiple branches. Um, and again, this is just from my point of view, what attracted me to it in terms of my personal vision. So it could vary slightly from how somebody else might explain it. But I think we need a long-term strategic, direction in order to make sure college wrestling is okay and high school wrestling is okay. I think as opting in happens, I do think more and more athletic programs are going to make the money's going to have to come from the coaches, and they're just not going to support programs that much. So I think there's a lot of really great nonprofits out there, but they're just asking for money, and they need the money, and it's for it's for a great cause, and I want them to have the money. You have like Beat the Streets, you have like the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. I think these things need to be funded, but sometimes it's tough when that funding is coming from the same hands that are trying to feed the programs, which that's what we're really trying to do is keep these programs. So, if anytime you're taking money, it's coming from somewhere. And so we wanted to have a strategy that's less about just fundraising. And again, money does help this system, but we wanted to try to help set wrestlers up so they can make money faster and so that they can then, put money back into wrestling earlier. Right. So whether that's internships, that's jobs, it's those types of things. So that's just one sector. Another sector is getting these major companies and corporations that want to use this as headhunters to fill these roles with elite level employees, which are wrestlers. We want to help connect them, right? And with the plan of these are new donors that are going to be part of wrestling programs, right? So as we feed them the best employees, those guys move up faster. They're part of these major companies that can really help our sport. When something happens, let's say, Bakersfield Wrestling gets in trouble, we can go to these companies and say, look, you've been helping our ecosystem. You're already in it for 100,000. You've been doing this for us for a while. You see how great this ecosystem is for your employees. Like, we need your help, right? We can go to them and get help, right?
Yeah.
And then the third part is we already have a lot of wrestling professionals out there. I mean, from everything from realtors to accountants to, even to trade work to everything, we want to build that network, right? We talked about this, only 1% of people who have wrestled high school, college, NAIA, D1, D2, D3, only 1% after the age of 40 are still making money with wrestling. So, we want to try to, take that entire market, right? If you need a plumber, there's a wrestling plumber out there. You need to give that guy your business. And if you're part of this network, he needs to give you a little bit of a deal. And the whole thing is try to help each individual wrestler grow in their own area. So we want to help them with the connections, right? And if they're making more money and they're more invested in the sport, whether they only wrestled in high school, the byproduct of that, not the focus, the byproduct is more wrestling is going to get put back into wrestling, right? Whether it's college level or high school level.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of cool how you said it's like an ecosystem, right? And it's like you kind of have to balance it out where it's like you have all these guys that have wrestled in some capacity, like whether it's in high school or college and junior college. And I think if you've been wrestling long enough, you've kind of taken some lessons from the sport. It's like, man, you make such a great employee. Like I keep trying to tell our principal, like we need to hire more wrestlers. Like we need more teachers on campus that are wrestlers. And yeah, obviously it's self-serving because you have more people that love the sport that are out there promoting it. But I think what you're doing, it's like you said, it's more of a long-term vision of, let's try to get people in different, kind of different environments and different working pathways where they can kind of climb up the ladder, because it's part of who they are. Like, they know how to work, like they know how to give back. I think that's something that can pay large dividends down the line.
Oh, it's huge. I wish this, we were further along 15 years ago. I think
Yeah.
it's always been a little bit of a side project. It was never anyone's full-time mission. And finally they're making it somebody's full-time mission, and I'm on it. Right. We all know wrestlers are the best workers. I do not care what the profession is. It's the old saying that we've all, it's not, everything's easy after wrestling.
Yeah.
Everything's easy after wrestling. And I believe that. I've had wrestling guys that I've sent to do major projects, whether it's construction, whether it's community service, I don't care what it is. I've always been complimented. Like, I've never had such hard workers, and
Yeah.
I compare that to every sport. I think every sport already has the lead, but wrestling's ages above it. We know how to work hard and not get attention. We're not attention seekers. So I think we stand out in every single profession. And like I said, I want to help everybody grow. And the more I can help everybody grow, the more people that buy in, the faster we can do it. But when you really explain the mission and the strategy, it's so easy to understand. I haven't explained that to anyone and say, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Right. It makes sense. It makes complete sense across the board. And I just got to get moving on it. There's some charters that need to get that messaging across. And again, it's not a donation thing. I'll take any donation. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But really, I want to build that environment, right? I want to let every wrestler know that there's a community that can help them and help benefit wrestling as a whole across the board. And when Mike explained it to me in that way or a similar way, man, I mean, it blew. I mean, he was right, And again, who would know any? Nobody's going to know better than me. I went from 9.5 scholarships to 3, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
I want to make sure that if this happens to another program, I have people there to help them, because I don't want to necessarily take the hand that's feeding them. I want to give them more hands feeding these programs, right? And I think everybody should be involved. If you've ever wrestled, you should be a part of this, period. And like I said, my phone is, I've been on the phone all day. I mean, I have a crazy amount. I mean, I'm on it, so like I said, the biggest thing is just building it up and having complete buy-in across the board, because everybody wins if we have that. We're the only sport that I know of that's doing anything like this. And we want to be different. We want to get ahead. This is a great avenue to do it.
And this is something to where no matter kind of what field you're in, you can create an account and kind of have access to this network. So whether I'm somebody that, like let's say I want to find somebody that, I want to kind of build this podcast, and maybe I need somebody to make t-shirts or, help edit, videos or something like that. I can create an account and I can put something out there and
create an account.
people.
You can put out an internships. You want to get an intern. There's probably some high school kid or some college kid that'd love to do some work for you. You can get an intern, put an internship on there. You can meet people. Again, like, we got to build these charters out. And, some states need a charter. Some states are really further along. It seems like the really smart people are killing it, right? The Princeton charter is phenomenal. The Pittsburgh charter is phenomenal. All those guys are winning. All the athletes in those areas are winning. They're getting the best internships. They're using it in the right way. And some are a little bit further behind. Maybe they don't really understand the messaging and again, I'm just going to try to help create the best board members for the charter. But the bigger the bigger it is, the better. And it's like, get out of your own way and jump in. And like I said, yeah, man, you can find work, you can find interns, like I said, you can help in a lot of ways, right? And like I said, I just don't think that we've done that messaging's clear to everybody yet. And I think we're going to make it clear. I mean, I'm going to make sure that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think with California, it's like, again, like maybe it's just me, like maybe I just, haven't really heard about it or gotten the word out about it. Definitely going to share this with like California USA Wrestling and try and help kind of spread the word a little bit more. How is the California, you don't need to bash anybody, but like what, if we're in California, we're trying to kind of help build up this charter and kind of, I know spreading the word is like a big deal. But how do we, if I'm somebody that wants to get involved, and kind of help and grow this project, I mean, how do I get involved?
Yeah, so there's a website. Again, if you want to start a charter, contacting me is your first step. You know, my email is scentes@wrestlersandbusiness.org. I can help you start a charter. Again, I'm going to make sure there's enough charter members that want to be involved, the right charter members. I don't want to build something that's not gonna be a fine-tuned machine. So I want to make sure I have the right people in place. If there's already a charter near you, I can connect you with them. They can get you involved in this charter and kind of explain the steps. You know, these charters are they're going to do multiple events a year. And again, when they fundraise, and they can, there's ways that we help them fundraise where they can put some of that money back into the sport in whatever way they want to do. Right. These charters, like I said, have their own boards and can kind of direct themselves. And we're just there to kind of help them.
When you say some of these events, what do these events look like? Are they dinners? Are they like meet and greets? Are they
Yeah.
like a gala, or stuff like that?
Sometimes, yeah, exactly. Sometimes they're meet and greets. Hey, we're all going to meet at this bar and have a social session and trade business cards and talk. And sometimes there's like after NCAs, we have get-togethers. Sometimes we're doing coaches clinics. Some of them want to come in and educate the coaches, so they'll bring people in. We'll help, maybe bring in John Smith, bring a few of us in and talk to the coaches. And so each charter's kind of done their own thing in their own way, in terms of what their area wants most. Some of them want to do wrestling camps. Some are like, there's plenty of good wrestling around here. Let's educate the coaches. Or, hey, we just want to do some socials, because what they want to get out of the charters to build their businesses. And so each charter sort of attacked it in a different way. I kind of have my idea of what I think makes the best charter, but I won't say that, but yeah, I get it. My job's just to help them and help them grow in new ways, and make sure that everybody's benefiting from it, from the charter members to the local wrestling. I want to make sure everybody's getting what they want out of it, and just help it grow.
Well, Coach, we've been going for almost an hour. I do have another question. This is something I kind of ask every guest, and it's kind of more for me. I'm a young man, and I got married last year, and I'm planning to start a family soon. My wife, if she watches this, she's gonna be like, "You keep saying that, but like, when are we actually gonna like start it?" But something that I feel like I've gotten better at, but is trying to kind of balance my time when it comes to coaching and working my job, and then obviously doing podcasts and other stuff. If do you have any tips on kind of like work life balance, like trying to make sure like you're being a good husband, being a good father, like taking care of the program, and kind of compartmentalizing some stuff?
Yeah, I think everybody's is a little different, so I think it's finding what works for your wife. I mean, number one thing is like, who's going to be at your funeral, Brian? Like,
Yeah.
your wife is. So I say, make sure she's happy, and make sure you find the right balance where you're both happy. Because what you don't want is resentment one way or the other. And so for me, what works for me, because I get into it, is I have certain time where I have my phone off. Like Sundays, my phone goes off, and after a certain time and of night, my phone goes off, and I make sure to ask questions and talk, right? Especially I have 3 kids. So a lot of my attention, I only get a little bit of attention left at the end of the day. And then the kids take most of that. So for me, if I have a phone there, I'm getting on it. So I just make sure I schedule time where I don't even see it. Because if I see it, I'm going to want to fix it. I'm going to want to respond. I'm going to want to solve a problem. And so that works for us. And if it stops working, I'll have to have a different plan. I might be calling you for advice, but yeah, man, just remember who's going to be at your funeral, and those are the ones you got to look after.
That's pretty powerful, man. It's pretty good way to end it. Do you have anything else you want to add before I cut it?
No, I appreciate you talking wrestling with people and having me on, and anything you can ever do, Brian, just let me know.